Hello, my friends, and welcome back to one of my videos. um, a couple things. I am really appreciative of all of you. Yesterday, it was a rapid fire video day. I kept putting out as things came in. I just started feeling like I should jump on and do it, and I'm going to slow down. I'm going to do like maybe one or two a day for a while. Everyone's sending in such great topics and ideas and questions that would make perfect videos. So what I decided to do is go ahead and make a list of them and just start breaking them down and coming down the list. I keep them coming. Please keep them coming because I think it's important that we just keep you know having this dialogue back and forth because I just think it's important that we all can talk about things and discuss things and hear each other's ideas on things. So it's great, and I really appreciate it. That said, I want to jump right into this first question that's on the list. I'm going to go down the list one at a time as they came in. So you're in there. If I told you on one of the videos or in the comments somewhere that it'll make a great video, it's on this list. So there you go. First question is from Dan Kellogg. Thank you for your work changing the world. My question is, can you talk about day-to-day life of John 2,000 years ago? Was it a hard life? Well, my regression, only gave me a snippet of one, but then the recurring things that kept coming. I still don't have a full picture of everything, but I do have a lot of snippets of here and there. I'll tell you a couple of things. His question is it a hard life and the day-to-day? We spent a lot of time sleeping outside. But, however, one of my jobs, which was very clear, was I would sometimes go ahead to the next town that we would going to be coming to, and I would try to arrange houses and places to stay. I would go in and I would find people who were okay with his message, and that was kind of the interesting thing is they'd be okay with it. They weren't necessarily on board with it at the time, but I would go there and I would talk to them and I'd say, well, just listen to what he has to say, and then, we're traveling in, and then we'd find places to stay, which ended up creating a network of homes as we traveled around that gave us the opportunity to have places to stay and things of that nature. Now, was it hard? It's an interesting question, the hard life. Yes, traveling is always hard. Traveling and carrying, all your stuff or whatever. We didn't have a lot of stuff. We didn't carry a lot of stuff. We had certain things that we carried just because there's certain necessities you need. But as far as hard life, this is 2,000 years ago. People were, in my opinion, much more resilient then, and much more capable of feeding themselves from nature. And we were several of us were fishermen, and so we would fish and eat. And my one of my fondest memories was literally just walking to the next town, eating figs, and Jeshua's laughing and joking and eating figs. So there were tense moments where you're in towns and people didn't agree with you. There are long days of walking and traveling, and we actually, people have asked this, they picture just walking, but we had a few pack animals just to carry stuff, but that was just it. No one ever rode them; they were to carry stuff, and so we would walk and they would come, right? And as Jeshua's popularity grew, there's more people who would follow along. So much so it's hard to ignore them. And then, of course, because we would go ahead and tell people he's coming, then it would create an excitement, and the town would be either excited or mad, so depending on the town. And for instance, there was a one town. I forget the name of it, Beth Shayed or something like that. I actually found it in the Bible because I remember us literally avoiding this town, and it actually said that in the Bible. We literally avoided this town because they didn't like his message, and so we literally did some bypasses around some places. Was it a hard life? I keep going back to that question because it's subjective. Because to us, in that time, we it's like living a you look at your childhood and you think about the play and all the stuff you did, and you're like, for most people who didn't have traumatic childhoods, it didn't seem like a hard life. But you might not have had your family might have had two dimes to rub together, but it wasn't a hard life. We were having a great time learning and experiencing, and then there were frustrating times when no one would understand what we were saying, or even take responsibility for their own experiences. But it was an interesting time, and I think that you're going to have times in your life where you struggle, and you're going to have times in your life where that's hard. But for the most part, my memories are very, very fond, very, very joyful, because I was surrounded by this group of people who were just very loving, very caring, looking out for each other. And I had this guy named Jeshua who just really was everything to us. I mean, he was like the guy, right? And everything surrounded by him. We all felt it very important that his messages were getting out. And so yeah, was it a hard life? I can't remember it as a hard life. I saw hard moments. Of course, the crucifixion was a hard moment. But the memories I have are laughing, walking laughing, and sitting around laughing, and there are moments that I remember, I really seriously remember, where we're all sitting on the ground, and Jeshua's leaned back against a tree of some kind, and I said something, and he he turned and he just gave me this look like like, really? And God, it was so great. And yeah, I mean, I knew that he had me. I knew it, but that's just the way it was. It was a bunch of friends walking, traveling, and we got hungry. We ate. The other thing that happened is you have to understand that, and this is another topic that I want to do as a video, is the correlation between spirituality and money. Because a lot of people, and this is something I ran into many years ago when I was speaking, was, I'm a professional speaker, so I had speaking fees. And people would not take my message because I was charging. And they said, well, it's not spiritual because he's charging. And it's fascinating to me that there's this argument that you can't make a living doing what you do. Right now, one of the things that's really unique about this new direction that I'm taking right now, I was a keynote speaker. I say was. There you go. There it is. Keynote speaker for corporations. I made large amounts of money every time I spoke. And to step out right now and to bring all this spirituality back up is kind of shooting myself in the foot, right? So I'm going to have to, in some way or shape or form, figure out how I'm going to make a living while I do this work. But and I will. I'll figure it out at some point. I am writing books, and they're coming. And back in the day, we had people around us who had money. I mean, Lazarus didn't follow Jeshua, right? And at one point in the Bible, Lazarus says, "Can I follow you?" And he said, "You'll have to give everything up," basically. And everyone puts a very esoteric meaning on it, and it's easier. What's the line? It's easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than it is for a wealthy man to get into heaven, right? There's a couple things in that statement that I want to talk about. Number one, Jerusalem had several gates. One of the gates was known as the eye of the needle because it was short, and a loaded camel could not go through that gate. Everything had to come off. The animal's head had to be ducked, and it had to go under. It was easier. But think about that. A camel loaded down with stuff, right? A wealthy man who had property and businesses wasn't going to walk away and go with Jeshua if he didn't let go of those things, right? Misinterpretation is all through the Bible, and it's really interesting because people will latch onto that. I've met so many people in private sessions years ago who would come in feeling guilty that they were wealthy, and I was like, Lazarus is mentioned in the Bible not just for his being raised from the dead, which was an interesting thing as well, but which, by the way, I know somebody's going to ask. I have no memory of that incident. I have strong memories of his sisters, Mary and Martha, because they had a really fun relationship with Jeshua. But the interesting thing about Lazarus was a wealthy man. We would stay at his house. So we were taking advantage of the wealthy man's wealth, right? Joseph of Arimathea, who he laid Jeshua in his tomb, right? He bought Jeshua's way off the cross, right? He was a wealthy man. He was a benefactor. We had benefactors. Matthew was a tax collector. He was a very wealthy man. So we had people of means who were helping us, right? And that's important to understand, that it is not a crime or a sin to have money. However, until you turn yourself to an internal, just looking at yourself internally and release the attachment to those things and get attached to your journey, you're not going to find that experience. I talk about a loving experience. Oftentimes when you get so attached to other things, you're not focused on a loving experience. You're not putting a loving experience out. And Jeshua was all about, leaving everybody he met better than he found them. And you can do that and still make money, right? But then there are times when people get very much lost in defining themselves by their wealth. I mean, how many people will say, I'm going to be a millionaire, I'm going to be this, I'm going to be that, but then they get their millions and they're still not happy. They're still not joyful. They're still not loving. And that's the important part, is that you have to make sure that you are not attached to those things. So to go back to Dan's question, we did a lot of walking, right? We did a lot of laughing. We did a lot of loving. We did a lot of eating our foods and sharing meals with people. We did a lot of hard travel, and we did a lot of sleeping under the sky and under the stars outside. But we did a lot of sleeping inside as well. My memories are not of thinking like my life was hard. My memories were thinking it was life, and I was enjoying my time with this amazing individual who knew who he was and knew who we were and was trying to get us to come to where he was. So there you go. There's your answer, Dan Kellogg. I hope that answers your question. And if there's any more questions, feel free to hop on and ask away.